Hello and welcome to the DK Spring 2026 preview. I'm Susan Maguire, Senior Editor, Collection Management and Library Outreach at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful event planned for today, and we'll learn about some great DK titles later in the program. But first, we will begin our webinar with a few words from Ellie Scott. Ellie is the Associate Marketing Manager for Education and Library at DK. Prior to joining DK in September 2025, she worked at Bloomsbury Publishing and Higher Ed Adoptions Marketing, and one of her first jobs was running the summer reading program at her hometown library. She's one of us. In her spare time, she enjoys reading, of course, drawing, and puzzles, both crossword and jigsaw. Ellie is going to kick things off by introducing our special author guest and A Kiss of Hammer and Flame. Take it away, Ellie. Oh, Ellie, I think you need to unmute.
Sorry about that. My computer froze for a second. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Ellie, Associate Manager of Education and Library Marketing at DK. I'm so excited for this first half hour of our Spring 2026 preview hour in particular, in which debut author Amy de la Force will be in conversation with Booklist editor Susan Maguire in celebration of Amy's debut Romantasy novel, A Kiss of Hammer and Flame, out December 2nd. Before I welcome them on screen, let's set the stage with a look at A Kiss of Hammer and Flame. When young blacksmith Kara is commissioned to forge a sword, she uses her imagination to design its crest. But this symbol unwittingly invokes an age-old prophecy and awakens Hale, an immortal with the power to shape or shatter worlds, sealed away for hundreds of years in a chamber deep in Hailstromia, the lost capital at the heart of a civil war between three kingdoms. Now hunted for the sword, Kara must flee with the very stranger who commissioned it. But can she trust the handsome and charming noble, Terrell? On the run through the darkly magical wilds, she is drawn ever closer to Hale, who visits and beguiles her in dreams. With tyrant kings vying to capture and wield him as a weapon, she alone stands between Hale and their deadly ambitions. This sizzling, action-packed saga, perfect for fans of The North Wind and Throne of Glass, packs in tropes beloved by Romantasy readers, including a strong female lead, a slow burn, a love triangle, fated mates, and found family. I'm thrilled to introduce the author of this exciting debut, the first in the Fated for Hale trilogy. Amy de la Force is a Lucy Cavendish Fiction Prize shortlistee and drew on her expertise as an ex-Apple copywriter and medieval sword fighter when writing this book. She is an Australian expat who lives in London. Without further ado, welcome Amy. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, Amy and Susan.
Okay, Amy, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Some hard-hitting questions. I'm very excited to talk to you about A Kiss of Hammer and Flame, which comes out in December from DK Canello. As Ellie mentioned, you have an interesting background. You've got copywriting, you've got some sword fighting in there. How did those experiences inspire this first novel of yours?
So from the copywriting side, I used to work for Apple, and clean branded copy is kind of their thing. So that was drilled into me from very early on. For the sword fighting, I was trained in longsword by a friend who leads a historical European martial arts club, otherwise known as HEMA. He is probably the most amazing person at sparring that I've ever seen. And so a lot of the book's sword fighting scenes are really drawn from that inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell there's some really good action in there. So if you like your romantasy with some, I'm not sure if there's an actual beheading, but there is some violence in it. But it's great. It's so fast paced. Anyway, so this is a question I have for all fantasy writers. So I'm going to ask you, how do you come up with the names for the people and places and magic? So you've got our main characters, Kara and Terrell, Wildern, places like Koliath and Helstromia. And I just want to mention that Amy gave me a pronunciation guide. I'm not just preternaturally expert at this. But where do all these names come from, these sort of otherworldly names?
Yeah. So I riff a lot off pre-existing words and try and find things that resonate with the story that I'm trying to tell. So Helstromia was like a mishmash of hell and maelstrom. Goliath, as Kara's home kingdom, was kind of pulled from Goliath as like this huge overwhelming power that she has to overcome, particularly in the steward of that kingdom, Atropos. For character names, I tend to do a lot of baby name research. And, look for name meanings that feel like they fit the story, play with spellings and sounds, and try and find something that feels true for a particular character. So some characters that I've written before, I might have 10 different base names that I'm trying to figure out if any of them fit them best. And sometimes they don't, and I have to start from scratch. But yeah, lots of inspiration from many sources.
I love that. So we're going to talk about the book a little bit, and we got a summary, but there are some spoilers that come up like a little bit early in the book. So I'll let you decide how much you want to reveal and how much you want to let readers experience themselves. But let's start with the dedication. So that is not a spoiler.
Nice and easy.
Yes, for those of you who can't read it, which is everyone, it says, "For my husband Nick, without whom this book would not exist, and to every woman living in this timeline who was told they weren't enough, you contain multitudes and you are everything." Can you talk about what that means?
Sure. So for Nick, who is my husband, I had the idea for this book before I met him. From day one, I was I'm a writer. This is what I want to do with my life. I may be working corporate now, but this is not the end goal. And
Oh, we lost your sound, Amy, I think. Do you know sign language? No. Okay, you can hear me, but I don't. Let's see. Nope, you're back.
I'm back. That's very odd. Oh, it says my internet connection is unstable. We shall see, because it's literally plugged in, so we'll try.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. So my husband has been very supportive in terms of the rest of the dedication. The Contain Multitudes is Walt Whitman in Leaves of Grass. I feel like so much of what Kara is about is expectations placed on her around who she should be, and that's a theme that continues throughout the entire book. So as someone that is a feminist, I wanted to start with that grounding before I then threw people into the story of, and this is what Kara's got to go through to grow to become the person that she's meant to be. So yes, I wanted to set the foundations nicely for readers and their experience.
Manage your expectations. She won't be a wilting flower.
No, never.
No. So let's talk about Kara. I would describe her as a misfit, which might be an understatement. So she's very muscular because she works as a blacksmith. She's tough, she's canny, she's slow to trust. As we read the book, we come to understand why she is that way, because she had this really hard scrabble background. But she learns some truths about herself that change everything, which we see a hint of when she crafts Terrell's sword. Can you talk a little bit about how Kara came to be?
Sure. So this story was really interesting in that I am a character writer. I always have the characters right off the bat, and this was the first time I hadn't had that. So it very much came to me concept first around these three kingdoms, with the shattered empire at their heart. And so it took a lot of work trying to tease out who Kara was, what was her name, as we were talking about naming before. But also what kind of character I wanted to be a central character, because with my characters, I've not been given that choice before. I've loved swords and sword fighting ever since my formative Xena and Buffy days. And so I thought having a blacksmith would be really cool. It was something that I didn't know that much about. I love researching things. It's one of my favorite parts of the kind of more fantasy side of the writing process. In terms of her personality, I think she's very much a product of her environment, which is quite dystopian in a lot of ways, and the fact that there's essentially been an ongoing war for like 400 years against two other kingdoms. She's an ex-beggar. She's smart, but she's also creative. She's savvy. She's can get very salty about things. And yeah, she doesn't really trust very much. So I think there's a learned vigilance in there that's inherent, especially given how she's kind of come into the world. And, by the time that she's grown up, I think that's something I could quite associate with from my youth. And so it wasn't hard for me to tap into that for her.
Mhm.
Um, weave a bit of mental healthness in there with the anxiety and kind of on the precipice of depression kind of representation. I think where things start to turn around for her is when she really taps into the feminine rage that she feels because of the circumstances of her life, and that kind of gives her the energy and the anger to galvanize her decision making, instead of, just having these feelings that are thrashing inside her that she feels like she doesn't have an outlet for except for banging a hammer on an anvil.
Right.
So yeah, once she kind of manages to escape from being under that thumb, she realizes that she has choices for the first time, and a lot of that becomes about helping the people around her. So it's a it's a good evolution.
Yeah, yeah. And it really is. Evolution is a great word for it because she starts off really closed off and has to learn to open up like a flower, but not a wilting flower. Um,
Not so much a dainty flower.
yeah. So I understand that you also just finished a blacksmithing workshop. How did that go, first of all?
Oh
And how
my
did your
God, it was so fun. I have honestly discovered if for some odd reason the authoring thing doesn't work out, that is my plan B career, because I had done the research. Like I had done so much research about how it all works and what you need to do, and I'd watched all these recreation videos of people in the UK doing like this is how it would have been done in medieval times, because there's lots of those around. I hadn't so much looked into more modern methods, but even with that, it's so fun. And I didn't know if I was going to be like strong enough up to the task, because my my muscle tone is not anywhere near Kara's, even with like the ex martial arts and stuff. But no, it was great. It was great. It was so good. So yes, if you have any kind of inclination to do this, like find somewhere and book it, because it was so fun.
what did you make? Or were you just
I made a longsword. We literally made a
oh my
longsword.
gosh, wait,
Yeah, so it
that
was
seems
it
advanced.
was just pivotal. Making the pommel where in the story everything kicks off with that. Oh, so good.
Oh my gosh. Well, so speaking of the puzzle,
Yes.
Kara learns about the prophecy for the first time when she inadvertently triggers it by creating this long sword. And I thought that was really interesting because Kara, she lives in ignorance of her fate, which I think is a pretty common trope, but also she's like kind of not even aware that such a fate even exists in the world, like that it's even possible for anyone to be what she is.
Yeah.
So what was kind of the decision behind that
I
having her
think,
live in ignorance.
yeah, I think there were two parts to it. So one was a lot of, in her kingdom, much of the, I guess, important history is really kept to the upper class. And because that's not her, she doesn't have that understanding. So there was an element around the politics of like information hoarding. But on top of that, I think, for someone like Kara, when you're finally free of the types of situations that she was in and how that can really grind you down, it can take a while to start seeing the positives of like life again and the places inside you and around you where there's hope. So I think maybe that was a unknown by me way of how I was extending that idea and what it might look like for her to self-actualize and finally open her eyes to the good things around her. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ellie mentioned a love triangle, but I mostly have questions about hell.
Everybody
Hell. Yeah.
does.
So he's got fire in his eyes.
God.
He grows into some muscles, but he's not human. Is there anything you can share about his true nature?
Oh, it's difficult because there's a little bit of this that is a spoiler.
Yeah.
So I will rein myself in. What I can say, I can share my basis for writing him because I think that's also a theme within. So with Hell, for me, there's an exploration of what is darkness, right? And obviously there's a lot of nuance here. Like the world we live in can get pretty dark. But I think there's also a big chunk of modern dialogue around darkness as being evil and this is what I dress like. I am a goth, I am witchy woo with my vibes. And I think that, some of what can be termed as maybe like dark and evil is just non-traditional or societally wanting to explore niches and, try and evolve as a community, as a group, as a person. So I wanted to explore perception through that lens with him and make him the personification of hell, but in a moral immortal. Yeah.
Okay. Nice and simple.
Yeah, not complex and a mouthful at all.
I love it. I love it. But that's what makes good reading. So, throughout the book, a lot of questions arise about these themes of beauty, destiny, responsibility. What are some of the big ideas you were playing with when you were writing the book?
So many. So I am an elder millennial. I like to say a millennial crone. Uh, I grew up in pants, not skirts. And I love that like femininity isn't a dirty word anymore. And you've got characters like some of Sarah J. Maas's where it's like, I love a gown. And that is cool. I am not a gown girl. So the women in my books are like gorgeous, but they're fighters, they're gorgeous because they're fighters. So I'm very much tapping into the fighting leathers and the plate armor and the epic hot heroines kind of side of Romantasy. For Destiny, I have so much to say, but I can't because it's kind of a huge basis of the series, and if I say too much, I get in trouble. But by the end of the series, what I think about Destiny will become overwhelmingly evident. In terms of, I guess, like responsibility, I think. Not so much in, oops, sorry, just turned my fan on. Not so much in this book, but definitely in the next book, there's a spot that I really want to cover around boundaries, particularly for women and what is responsibility versus what is kind of like ingrained social expectations that overwhelmingly end up burning us out. So stay tuned.
Okay. Yes. So there were a couple of moments that you really sort of like lighten the mood with a quip. And one of my favorites is the Oracle Thelema says to Kara, "What you are doing is incredibly stupid," which is just like a simple line, but in the context, it just made me laugh. So, but it also made me think, why does Kara play so fast and loose with this prophecy? Well, anyway, that's my question. I won't expand on that question. I'll let you answer it how you want to.
Sure. I loved writing Thelema. Like she's the real crone of this story. She's wise, she's indomitable, but she really is also like exact kind of cranky old womanness because everyone around her can be like really stupid. And she has an incredibly long lifespan, so there's that compounds it as well. Pattern recognition is a thing. I think with Kara, I mean, she's young in this story. She starts out as 17, and at that life stage, nothing really feels set in stone, even when you're being told by other people that it is. Um, and also I think the more the readers get to know her, the more they realize that she's not someone that really loves being told what to do. And so I think that particularly with Thelema, their relationship can be so fraught because in some ways they have some core similarities in their personalities, but because they're on opposing viewpoints, that can cause a lot of conflict. But it also makes their interactions really rich, and when they do agree, it's quite heartfelt. So yeah, I hope that
Yeah,
answers the question.
and it made a lot of sense to me because Kara never really had like parental figures as
Yeah,
as a young person, and so I
yeah,
mean, she's 17, which is young, but as a child,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so like having to put up with authority or I guess authority who's on her side for the
And a
first time.
mother type figure as well.
Right,
Like that was
right.
non-existent for her. So someone coming in and trying to pseudo be that, she's like, no.
Yeah, chase them out. I get it. Um, we won't talk about my mother though. Anyway, so let's take a little step back and talk about romantasy in general. Much is made in the genre. There are a lot of tropes involved. There's like the strong female character and this sort of epic journey. There's also this morally gray character, which I'm really fascinated with. And for those of you in the audience who don't know what that means, it's a person or being or character who has kind of a dubious relationship with good behavior and a moral compass that's maybe a little off kilter. What do you think of that phenomenon? And do you think A Kiss of Hammer and Flame definitely is full of complicated characters, but do you consider any of them morally gray?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I have been told like pe readers have told me that they feel like Hell is like a morally gray character, and I kind of see it because he is like a equal opportunity killy McKillface. Um, but at the same time, I wrote him to be this moral immortal. So like, yes, he is, destroyer of realms, but also with extreme integrity. So it's interesting that people kind of see him that way. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if anyone was morally gray here, it's Terrell, but maybe people can suss that out by how he's written
Yeah,
in the book, you can't trust a Disney prince, man. Like it's too good to be
that's the real
true.
lesson of the book.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, he's he he's interesting. We'll leave it
Yes.
at
Very interesting. Read on, readers, read on.
that. So let's talk about your writing process. So
Sure.
much happens in this book that I have a hard time imagining that you just sort of let it flow and everything worked out as it is, but maybe you did, or maybe you're a big planner and you have a wall of index cards and everything. Which end of the spectrum are you on?
Yeah, yeah. So my first book that I ever wrote, which will never see the light of day, it's staying in my bottom drawer forever. I pantsed and I learnt from that experience. So now I am mainly a planner. I'm a little bit of a planter, more on the side of planning. I am one of those annoying spreadsheet people. Except that when I'm trying to figure out how a story is going to work, I have the humongous A4, A4, A1 sticky notes that you stick on a wall and map everything out. So I do that. It's the only part I still do by hand because I just need to see everything. But outside of that, yeah, I'm 6,000 bullet points and spreadsheets. I just sent my editor an epic spreadsheet of doom. I'm sorry. So yes, very much on the planning side of things. That said, I do like to leave the last third of things a little bit open. So I'll have extremely detailed bullet points for things and paragraphs, and then I'll get to maybe the last act and just have just the bullet points and they're a bit sparing, because I like to give myself a bit of room to breathe. If the characters make me change decisions, if I'm trying to problem solve something that I'm not sure how it's going to work, and then all of a sudden I need this space for it. Particularly with the second book, by the time I was editing, there are so many dots to connect in that last third that I needed that entire amount of space to reconfigure things. So mostly a planner, a little bit of pantsing just for creativity and vibes.
Right. Vibes are very important,
All the
especially
vibes.
as an elder millennial.
Yes.
Now, what about kind of your physical setup? This is like
Yeah.
real inside baseball question, but are you like writing on your couch with your cats? Are you,
I wish I had a cat to write on a couch with. I quite enjoy seeing those photos of other authors doing that. I'm the worst. I write like on my bed, which is terrible for sleep hygiene. And I have an excellent desk that I should use, but I start looking at emails and then I start working and I get comfortable and then like 4 hours have passed. So yes, that is my process, to the point where I had one of those little breakfast tables that kind of sit over your lap, and I broke it. And my husband has just replaced it with a new one that is painted black this time because the man knows my heart.
That's romance. Some people
Yep,
want diamonds,
that is
love
romance.
like furniture.
The
I love
right color and everything. Lovely.
it. So this is your first published book, right?
Yeah.
You talked about a book that we'll never see. Did you always want to write romantasy? And were you psyched to have a map in the beginning of the book? And were you psyched that the book has an acronym? For those ACOTAR heads out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, were you always drawn to romantasy?
Yeah, I think because I've been on a couple of panels lately where we've had conversations around, what is romantasy? How has it evolved from the heady days of paranormal romance? And I think, I mean, obviously, romantasy has a specific definition right now. But it just reminds me of, I grew up with kind of like all speculative fiction romance. I was trying to get my hands on everything. I loved L.J. Smith's Night World and all the different kind of types of people and creatures and entities. And so I think like I read tons of paranormal romance, but it's always just been any kind of speculative fiction and romance. Like I love that like horrormance is coming, and so I think it's the type of thing that I've been writing forever. Like I've got a vampire story that I would like to actually hash out properly one day, but romantasy, the fantasy and the romance side of things, I was reading it for a decade before the term had kind of come out as like a concept. And so I think I'm always going to be wanting to write it because it's just always been a part of my my psyche of when I started reading these things from libraries as a teenager. Yeah, so I love romantasy, and I think it will always have a quite a large space in my heart.
Yeah.
The map is so cool. So the guy Neil Gower that's done the map for the book also did in Paris. There's a bookshop called Shakespeare and Company. They
Mhm.
have tote bags that I saw it and fell in love with. I'm very picky about tote bags. My husband has tried and failed before. And so when I realized it was the tote bag guy, I was like, so I feel very, very lucky
Oh, he made
that
the
he was
tote
able
bag.
to do my map, because I was just like, this is my favorite tote bag of all time, and now he's doing my map.
Oh
So
my gosh,
yes,
sweet. That's amazing. That's really fun.
yeah, it's so cool. What else? The acronym. Yes, I do love this acronym. The book two's acronym is equally good, if not potentially a little bit better, which is very exciting. So
Oh,
yeah, we're big on the acronyms.
yeah. Because those titles are long, man. We don't have
Yeah,
time for these.
yeah.
And in the library world, acronyms are like a hot commodity. So it's a no wonder that romantasy is popular in library world because of the acronym connection.
Oh,
So
I feel that. I come from marketing. It's like acronyms for everything.
I have a couple of questions I want to answer, I want to end up with, but um, this is sort of an off the cuff question. If you when you walk into a bookstore and see A Kiss of Hammer and Flame, what do you hope to see or a library? Sorry, bookstore or library. What do you hope to see next to it on the big display?
Oh.
Who are
Well,
your sister books? Sorry,
I mean,
that's
obviously, there's, the comparison titles of Throne of Glass and The North Wind and Book of Azrael. I mean, it's a hard question for me because I automatically go to what are my like most exciting books at the moment, and they're not necessarily like in exactly the same space as mine.
well, they could, they're books attract readers for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah,
So
that's true. There's a book that has come out recently in the US that came out here maybe a year or two ago called Girl Goddess Queen, by B. Fitzgerald. It is a literal Hades and Persephone retelling, as you can gather. I am slightly partial to these, and it's so good. It's a little bit in. I think it's technically marketed as YA, even though the themes are quite grippy. But it's amazing. If I was next to that, I would be happy. Having said that, because of my surname, I've seen my book next to Danny Francis and Silver Lake multiple times, so that also makes me happy.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
I love when the alphabet works out. So, sort of some quick lightning round because we have just a few minutes left. But what do you want readers to take away from Akahaf or A Kiss of Hammer and Flame?
Yes. I want them to enjoy the book, to enjoy the world, the characters, the story, enjoy the escapism. I think that's what a lot of us are here for with Romantasy right now. I've had people cry and tell me their book, lifted them out of a slump and that it's going to be like the next thing. On a personal level, that's really fulfilling. On the reader side, what I really just want people to feel is the way I did when I first came out of my I had like a decade-long reader's slump in my 20s, and Graceling by Christine Kershaw lifted me out of that. And that book just reset my brain in terms of what I wanted to do with things and being at uni and studying creative writing. And obviously you don't have to like be a writer to love this stuff, but that feeling of just remembering something that you'd loved and for whatever reason had been pushed aside. If I can help people experience that again, like I would be stoked. That's, it's the readers that say, I love this thing. And it's not the praise, it's that affected someone in a positive way. Like that's what you want from the things that you create. So yeah.
Yeah, and I do think Graceling is a good read alike for this book. I was going to mention that earlier, then I was like, don't pander, but you brought it up, so I'm going to bring it up. So finally, A Kiss of Hammer and Flame ends on a note of hope. Then there's an epilogue.
Yes,
But you've mentioned a second book, and I believe it's going to be a trilogy, right? What can you tell us about book 2, book 3, anything?
Book 2 is more of everything.
Okay.
I didn't plan on this, but I feel like I'm coming out of it going, I'm going to turn everything up to 11. The first, so Akahaf is lower on the spice scale for a reason. There's a power differential between Kara and both her love interests, to be fair. And so, I wanted to be respectful of that. And if situations were reversed, and she's the one in power, if situations were reversed and it was a guy in power and she was down here on this rung, I wasn't necessarily comfortable with how that would land with the forbidden romance aspect of things. So book 1 is lower on the spice. Book 2 has a very climactic spice scene. So for anyone that asks, that is knowledge that you now have.
Okay.
Because obviously, romantasy lovers do love the spice. There is spice. There is more spice in book 2. Yes.
Excellent. Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well,
The yearning, it culminates.
Yeah. Okay, good. All the blends, all the innuendos. Thank you so much, Amy. It was great to hear about A Kiss of Hammer and Flame, and I'm sure folks can't wait to read it when it comes out in December.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, so I'll now pass it back to Ellie and her DK colleagues who will give you a little sneak peek at DK's spring list.
Wow, what a fantastic conversation. Thank you both so much. Don't forget to have A Kiss of Hammer and Flame ready to add to your collection, whether in print, ebook, or audiobook when it comes out on December 2nd. Now we're going to transition into our true book buzz portion of the hour. First up are some titles I want to make sure you haven't missed, those that have received starred reviews from the trades. All the World's Your Stage compiles 8 exciting Shakespeare retellings for kids aged 9 to 12, alongside the story of his life and the history of Tudor London, all beautifully illustrated. In a starred review, Booklist recommends this as an excellent supplement to middle grade or early high school literature curricula, or a handy piece for young bard researchers. Next up, The Witches of Anderson House is a new series that will have kids spellbound with its comical cast of characters and heartfelt writing. Publishers Weekly praised the first title, A Spell for Disaster, saying, skillful world building is enriched by chaotically cluttered, whimsically detailed illustrations. Themes of building and rebuilding self-confidence ring true in this laugh-out-loud early chapter book roller coaster. This is available now, so be sure to add it to your collection if you haven't already. And don't miss our recent New York Times bestseller, Sitting with Dogs. Rocky Kanaka is known the world over as a dog rescue advocate, with millions of fans following along each week as Rocky visits shelters, finds dogs in need, and helps them find their forever homes. Sitting with Dogs is a collection of stories about 9 rescue dogs that each got off to a rough start but found their way into Rocky's arms. Rocky's stories will tug at readers' hearts, bring a smile to their faces, and maybe even inspire them to give a little of their own time to a dog in need. And now for the Spring 2026 preview. We'll start off with our children's highlights. I'll also be joined by some other members of the DK team throughout the presentation, so a big thanks to Lauren, Chelsea, and Julia for their assistance. First up is Tractors in Space. Come along on a side-splittingly funny adventure and meet the tractors with a big secret. They're going to space! Life on the farm doesn't change much for tractors, so when an out-of-this-world adventure is suggested, they wrestle up a spaceship and strap in for takeoff. Battle weightlessness, navigate around black holes, and explore the wonders of our universe with these crazy farmyard machines. Budding astronauts and tractor lovers will delight in getting to know their new tractor friends while exploring space in our solar system. This adorable title is perfect for story time.
All right, on this next slide, we have our Stories of the Saints series. This new classic series of board books goes beyond simple storytelling to keep the profound lessons of courage and compassion taught by holy figures alive in a colorful new format. Each book in this series retells the life story of a different saint, sharing their miraculous deeds in an engaging and accessible way. These sweet illustrations will capture and enthrall young minds while also teaching them important values and virtues. To mark the importance of each title and the lessons learned, there is a prayer at the end of each book as well. We also have 2 Pope Leo titles coming this spring. The first is another board book for ages 3 to 5, which explores his experiences of faith as a child, his missionary work in Peru, and his election as Pope. The other is a new installment of our DK Super Reader series. Pope Leo XIV is a beautifully designed reader that will help children to learn all about the life of the current Pope and his work around the world. This book is a motivating introduction to using essential nonfiction reading skills. We now move on to DK Super Readers. This nonfiction leveled reader series is designed for kids ages 3 to 11 and is divided into 5 levels, from pre-level to level 4, all aligned to Lexile measures. This spring, we have a range of new readers being published featuring kids' favorite characters and properties, from Iron Man to Pokemon to Lego Ninjago. Next up, we have 2 new installments in the best-selling I Wonder series, which has been refreshed for the next generation of young readers ages 5 to 7. Here we have I Wonder Bugs and Weather. Stay-at-home explorers will feel inspired by the dramatic photographs, up-to-date information, and fact-packed pages, and a brand new I Wonder feature which details fascinating records and trivia.
Hello, hello. Next up, we have Max and Chaffy. They are back in another adventure following the first starred review title in this series, and this time they are diving below the waves to explore the ocean floor. It's another glorious day on Animal Island, but in the dark depths of the ocean, there is a map that leads to treasure just waiting to be found. Who better to find lost things than Max and Chaffy? Swim through the coral reef, traverse the goldfish trench, and follow the clues to discover a treasure unlike any other. This hilarious story is interspersed with engaging search and find pages, since Chaffy has a habit of getting lost, as well as items that aren't where they should be. Join Max and Chaffy on their adventure to discover what's been lost and everything that can be found on Animal Island. Next up, we have 4 new titles upcoming in the A Kid's Book About series. The tagline of this series is Kids Are Ready, and it aims to facilitate important conversations. Conversations kids need and want to have, but adults need some guidance for. These books are best read aloud and together. Topics in the series are handled mindfully, and the books are meant for children as young as 5. Type-driven design allows kids freedom to imagine themselves in the pages with a friendly, approachable, and kid-appropriate tone throughout. Look forward to a kid's book about goals, a kid's book about purpose, a kid's book about boundaries, and a kid's book about ice cream, which is authored by the founders of the beloved ice cream chain, and my favorite chain, Salt and Straw. Next up, we have 2 new books in DK's Little Anthology series, aimed at kids age 7 to 9. An anthology of beetles and an anthology of flowers are both filled with colorful photographs and vibrant illustrations, like the rest of the series. Compact in size, yet brimming with information, these titles will help kids discover the lively natural world and learn to easily identify different species thanks to detailed annotations and unique descriptions. Finally, watch Big Feelings come to life with Big Feelings, Little Feelings, an engaging book crafted for children aged 5 to 9. This enchanting book introduces kids to a colorful cast of characters, from happiness and surprise to fear and anger. Join these fun characters as they show kids how to identify, understand, and manage their feelings. This book helps children build emotional awareness and fosters empathy and resilience. With captivating illustrations, it offers a funny but educational experience that keep kids engaged from beginning to end.
The latest in the Fact Finders series follows Lily and her toucan sidekick Mango as they adventure through the world's magical rainforests. The narrative highlights the different aspects of the rainforest and their ecological importance. Journeying along with charming characters, the book also encourages young readers to contribute in their own way to the environment and forest conservation at large. Filled with bite-sized information, colorful illustrations, and a fun narrative, this beautiful graphic novel will engage budding forest experts and nature explorers. Have you ever wondered what happened to Amelia Earhart's plane, or where the tomb of Queen Nefertiti might be hiding? Look no further. Lost is a dazzling book that takes the reader on a journey across the world and throughout history, revealing the stories behind extraordinary lost treasures. From legendary pirates and ancient empires to sunken ships and missing jewels, every spread reveals a fascinating new mystery, complete with colorful, captivating visuals showing how each story might have unfolded. Lost is packed with intrigue, making it the perfect read for curious young minds. The DK Super Economics series invites young readers to learn all about economics and become financially literate. Each book in the series features engaging content, infographics, and hands-on projects or challenges, providing an immersive learning experience. With specially designed spreads that build vocabulary and financial literacy, these books make complex economics concepts accessible to children. Coming this spring are Money and Trade and Supply and Demand. Like all DK Super series, these titles are curriculum aligned for elementary school students. DK Super History is a new immersive series that gives students the full picture on key moments in history. These engaging titles will give kids a rounded view of essential historical topics and key historical events, combining a focus on bringing history to life and exploring different viewpoints. School Library Journal has praised this series as a good choice for social studies classrooms to support engagement and discussion. Again, all titles in the series are curriculum aligned for elementary school students. Don't miss the forthcoming Underground Railroad and Trail of Tears titles, which are perfect for teaching children about these sensitive subjects.
New from our series DK Ancient Histories, a line of beautifully illustrated books that travel back in time to explore what life was like in the lost civilizations of history, is The Aztecs. Kids aged 9 to 12 will discover the ins and outs of Aztec civilization, from the pantheon of shape-shifting gods and the warrior ranks who served them, to the cultivation of maize and beans on floating islands. Kids will be especially interested to learn what childhood was like for Aztec boys and girls. Drawing on accounts of indigenous Nahua people to tell their own story, this book is perfect to give to any reader interested in ancient history. DK Science Stories is an exciting new series about the greatest moments in scientific history, told as exciting adventure stories. A gripping narrative and lively text allow readers to experience the thrill of each breakthrough and find out how scientists made it happen. Atmospheric illustrations bring the characters to life, highlight moments of drama, and explain key ideas. We're excited to bring you the first two books, Moon Landing and Project Penicillin, this spring. Next up, we have Phonic Books, our range of decodable books for beginner and older readers. I'm excited to share the second set in the Fact Files series. Meant for children ages 8 to 14 plus who are struggling to learn to read, this series comprises 12 truly decodable, high-interest nonfiction books for older readers who can read simple CVC and CVCC words. Like with all our Phonic Books reader sets, a photocopyable activity book that follows the same phonics progression and makes implementation easy for teachers will also be available. Additionally, in the Phonic Books line, we're so excited to introduce Playaways from Wonderbook, the print book paired with a ready-to-play audiobook inside. These Playaway Wonderbooks will have a difference, though. In read-along mode, kids will hear a traditional narration experience, guiding them on proper pacing, pronunciation, expression, and fluency. In phonics mode, listeners sound out key vocabulary words, phonemes, and graphemes from the text alongside their instructor. Kids of all ages and reading abilities can proudly level up their skills with books at every stage of the reading journey. Starting next month, Playaway versions will be available for our Dandelion Launchers sets 1 through 15, Dandelion Readers Books 1 through 12, the Magic Belt series, the Totem series, and the That Dog series. That brings us to our Phonic Books high-low decodable chapter books. First, we have a new series, Mount Olympus Mysteries, tailored for readers aged 10 to 14 who need support. With line art illustrations in every chapter, this action-packed tale is sure to engage from beginning to end. Each installment in this series follows a group of teenage demigods who didn't inherit any godlike powers, but prove useful to the gods by solving mysteries and problems in ancient Greece. Each book is carefully written with a focus on morphology, suffixes, prefixes, and word roots, which is hugely important for improving spelling and reading comprehension. The Mount Olympus Mysteries series serves as a vital bridge between decodable and mainstream books, empowering readers to confidently understand meaning from text alone. We also have another installment in the beloved Against the Odds series, which has been compared to the I Survived series. Each title in this collection unravels the extraordinary experiences of young people overcoming incredible challenges. These stories are both riveting and inspiring, and all are carefully written with a morphology focus, making them ideal for striving readers aged 10 to 14. In this particular book, readers will benefit from a focus on adjective and adverb suffixes, comparatives, and superlatives, while enthralled by stories of survival amid blinding blizzards and devastating avalanches.
So we have a fantastic slate of children's reference titles coming this spring. The new edition of My Encyclopedia of Very Important Animals, Rocket, Our World in Pictures, Why Animals, and Desert, the fourth title in DK's Earth's Incredible Habitat series. All of these are filled to the brim with factual information and gorgeous pictures and illustrations that will enthrall young readers. On this slide, we have Shapes of Nature, which captures the infinite variety and delicate beauty of the natural world. Taking inspiration from the world around us, we have arranged iridescent beetles, eye-popping tree frogs, knobby seashells, glistening crystals, fabulous fungi, and exquisite feathers into stunning artistic arrangements that are full of color and packed with detail. These clever designs shine a light on nature's variety with amazing clarity, inviting young readers to observe the differences between objects that look similar at first sight, and also revealing the intricate features that we normally overlook. 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the United States, and we're celebrating with Happy Birthday America, a vibrant book that combines history, civics, and hands-on activities. This is an interactive 72-page book designed for children ages 7 to 11, which explores the pivotal moments and cultural heritage of the United States. This curriculum-aligned book invites young readers to journey through the American Revolution, the drafting of the Declaration of Independence, and the traditions surrounding July 4th. With hands-on crafts, educational games, and easy-to-follow recipes, children can experience America's diverse history in exciting ways. The content includes vibrant profiles of key figures, insights into significant landmarks, and a celebration of the cultural contributions from all regions of the country.
Next up, we have two exciting licensed titles from properties kids and adults alike will love: My Hero Academia and Pokemon. Anime is bigger than ever, with its growth showing no signs of stopping, and My Hero Academia is one of the most popular series out there, with the manga version having over 100 million copies in circulation globally. Readers 8 to 12 will pore over this book for new information about their favorite characters and detailed annotated illustrations. And in Pokemon, Book of Battles, kids aged 6 to 9 will be thrilled to find tactical breakdowns, get to know different Pokemon's key skills, and relive epic gym battles from the TV show. Finally, we have a full slate of Spanish publishing coming to spring 2026 on both the children's and adult sides. Highlighted here are just a select few of this year's forthcoming and latest editions of our DK books in Spanish.
And now on to our adult highlights. First up, we have Attention Seeker by Darcy Michael, a hilarious memoir with a message about living with adult ADHD. Comedian Darcy Michael offers a fresh perspective on getting through the daily struggles that confront those on the neurofabulous end of the spectrum. Before I tell you more, let's hear from Darcy himself.
Get in there, Jeremy, it's here. Come here. Take this. You're filming yourself. I've been working on this for 4 years, and I can finally see it myself. It's real. I know, Charlie, it's real.
Oh my God, it looks so good.
I wrote a book. What?
I can't wait to read it.
You can read it when you buy it. Attention Seeker, a neurodivergent comedian's guide to surviving, thriving with ADHD. Confetti time!
Darcy, you're cleaning that up.
Jeremy, I'm an author. I don't clean up confetti. I am a late diagnosed ADHDer, and even the idea of trying to write a book was terrifying because I can't even read one. And I wrote this book with ADHDers and their families in mind. There's so many tips and tricks. It's not a self-help book. Okay, it's a self-help book for the author. But it's a bunch of stories in my life with some tips and tricks that you can put into your own life. And as an homage to my favorite books as a kid, Choose Your Own Adventures, every chapter ends with a choose your own distraction. It's available for pre-order right now. I'm an author.
Darcy takes readers on a humorous yet heartfelt journey as he relates stories of growing up gay, getting married, and finding a career in comedy, all while navigating life with an attention-addled brain. From his early acting days on Spun Out to finding fame and love on the internet, Darcy shares all the dirty details of how ADHD has shaped his identity, his relationships, and his work. Peppered with asides from Darcy's long-suffering husband, Jer, and advice for ADHDers both silly and serious, this is essential reading for anyone unpacking what ADHD means for them, or anyone who just wants to giggle. Darcy will be heading off on a tour of North America in 2026, so be sure to keep an eye out. In Cooking con Claudia, Celebración, Claudia Regalado returns with delicious, tried-and-true Mexican recipes, each bearing the hallmark of tradition with a creative twist. Having immigrated from Mexico to the United States at the age of 5, Claudia has stayed connected to her roots through food. Through her culinary journey, she found solace and connection, anchoring her family's traditions in the flavors of home. Today, Claudia has a family of her own and has preserved these traditions to share with her husband and children, giving them the chance to cherish the authentic tastes of Mexico. And now she is sharing these family favorites with us. In her latest cookbook, Claudia presents diverse recipes that span all things Mexican celebration. You'll find dishes such as chocolate abuelita, calabacitas a la mexicana, ensalada de elote, and sopa de lentejas, all intertwined with captivating stories and anecdotes from Claudia's life.
Sourdough Everything is a step-by-step guide to baking and designing beautiful sourdough treats with sourdough superstar Rachel Pardo, known online as Sourdough Enzo. Even if you already have your starter languishing in the fridge, Sourdough Everything will reinvigorate your sourdough experience and elevate your baking skills with an array of recipes ranging from artfully crafted loaves to flavorful rolls, sweetbreads, and pastries. This is not just another sourdough cookbook with nothing but bread recipes. This is a cookbook that will help you discover the creative baker that lives inside you. Nonna Gracie isn't just any Italian grandmother. She is a social media star and one of the internet's most beloved Italian grandmothers. Today, she has an online audience of millions of fans who she affectionately refers to as her grandchildren. Her love of food and family has helped Nonna continue the Italian tradition of Sunday dinner with her own family. Sunday Dinner with Nonna Gracie features over 75 of Nonna's best Italian recipes, including eggplant parmigiana, lasagna, tagliatelle bolognese, and biscotti. But this is more than just a cookbook. Every recipe includes stories of the roots of the recipe and what the dish means to Nonna. Readers will learn how to use simple ingredients to create amazing food that their families will love, using cooking tips and techniques passed down through generations. Let's hear from Nonna Gracie herself about what this cookbook means to her.
I did. I made a cookbook. You know, this is very special for me because when we grow up in my town, it was after the war, and my mom and my dad, they say, you're gonna go for better life. You gotta go to America. And I did. And then all of my family came. We worked very hard here. And now we have a beautiful life. You know, when we came from my town, we could not speak English. Do you know many people? They will laugh at us because we spoke broke English, but we worked very hard to learn, to go through all that, and now I made a cookbook. And for me, it's a very tremendous thing. It's very emotional. Back home with no money, no jobs, not much education, and whatever we learned, it was very important for us. We learn a lot home. We all stick together as a family, and my mom and my dad, they teach me. And I started cooking very young. And I never lost that tradition. Now, 64 years later, it's incredible. I have so many grandchildren on Instagram and TikTok. It's such a beautiful honor.
It's okay, take your time.
It's a beautiful honor for me. And whatever I know, I would like to teach everybody. It's very important. Everything that I learned is in this book. You could pre-order right now Sunday Dinner with Nonna Gracie.
We have many more cookbooks coming this spring. Mallory Oniki welcomes you to the Cookie Club with this creative cookie book packed with familiar favorites and unexpected flavor combinations. The mother-daughter duo behind Crowded Kitchen have created an approachable, everyday cookbook with recipes for every occasion, family tested and social media approved, from their Crowded Kitchen to yours. And Christina Kanigos, aka Very Hungry Greek, delivers 80 fuss-free mouth-watering meals that can all be cooked in an air fryer and will be ready in 20 minutes.
All right, from DK Travel, we're excited to introduce Route 66, a tribute to America's most iconic highway. From its quiche motels to the neon-lit diners, the historic towns and roadside attractions, no other road trip has had as much of an enduring impact on American culture as Route 66, which turns 100 in 2026. This book is the perfect celebration of that anniversary, filled with stories of unexpected encounters, eccentric characters, and legendary locations. Next up, The Science of Reading is a one-stop guide to the brain science, language development, and phonemic awareness that underlie the processes of learning to read. How we learn to read is not a secret formula, it's a science. More than 5 decades of research conducted across the world informs the science of reading. In this book, educators, caregivers, and enthusiasts will uncover the workings of the brain in processing language stimuli and print information, bridging the gap between sound and text for effective reading. This book is the key to unlocking any child's reading potential. Now on to something very different. The latest title in the DK A History of series examines our primal fascination with fear, terror, and the macabre. A History of Horror, Fear, and the Uncanny is a comprehensive and creepily illustrated guide to horror throughout the centuries and around the world. From prehistoric death rituals and early monster myths to modern manifestations of the subject in art, literature, and film. For dedicated horror aficionados or curious newcomers, this book is the ultimate guide to the subject. Read if you dare.
Pests and so-called nuisance animals get a bad rap, but each and every one of them serves a purpose in their ecosystem. Learn how helpful, intelligent, and fascinating these creatures can be in Pests and Other Friends, a lushly illustrated exploration of North American wildlife. From the deserts of the Southwest to the city streets of the East Coast, Pests and Other Friends celebrates the unique ways in which these underappreciated animals benefit their individual environments. Halsey Berryman's beautifully detailed, whimsical artwork captures the distinctive traits of these regularly slandered critters, ensuring you'll never look at pigeons, skunks, or alligators the same way again. Up next, we have 2 adult licensing titles. The DC Comics Encyclopedia is a true essential for any comic book aficionado and a vital addition to every DC fan's shelf. Explore the latest earth-shaking developments and titanic clashes in the DC Comics universe. This new edition is fully up to date, providing an accessible, compelling, and lavishly illustrated guide to this dynamic world. Star Wars: The Mandalorian Visual Guide is a must-have guide to the Disney Plus phenomenon. Produced in close collaboration with Lucasfilm and packed with fascinating new insights and exclusive imagery, this guide is perfect for fans of all ages and will be released in time for the next Star Wars movie to hit theaters, The Mandalorian and Grogu.
That brings us to our romance section. First up is Only You, a sweeping, epic, timeless romance that fans of V.E. Schwab and Gabrielle Zevin will adore. Danny, a music student, discovers her dreams are past memories of her and her guitarist, Jones, revealing they have loved each other through multiple lifetimes, but always ending in tragedy. Now, they must navigate their newfound reality and see if they can finally have the love story they deserve. Prince Weaver combines the court intrigue and slow burn yearning of A Taste of Golden Iron with folkloric grounding and lore that readers of Naomi Novik and Stephanie Garber will enjoy. Melier, an apothecary with forbidden magic, must navigate court politics and a deadly game to save his brother and uncover a murder. As he does so, he develops complicated feelings for Prince Ocean, adding emotional stakes to his perilous journey. Moving on from Romantasy, we also have a couple of juicy contemporary romances for you. Racing Hearts is a spicy, rivals to lovers, fake dating sports romance that fans of Simone Sultani and Tessa Bailey will love. Georgia, an F1 racer on the first all-female team, and Luca, a Playboy driver, enter a fake romance for PR, but their rivalry and growing attraction complicate their professional and personal lives. They must decide how far they are willing to go for their careers and if they can cross the finish line together. Next is Summer of Love, a funny, sweet, and swoony LGBT romance perfect for fans of red, white, and royal blue. Boxer Declan and ballet dancer Oliver fall for each other on a reality dating show, but must navigate meddling producers and public scrutiny to be together when their on-screen bromance turns into a real romance, challenging them to balance fame and their true feelings. We have an extensive slate of mysteries and thrillers coming this spring. Let's start with A Place Called Hope. This is a gut-wrenching, compelling small-town crime thriller, laying bare the corrosive nature of greed and the trials and dangers of those living on the fringes of society. In the small American town of Hope, teenager Lucas Caldwell discovers a hidden painting worth millions. But the secret brings danger and violence to Hope, threatening his family. As corruption and greed spread, Lucas must protect his loved ones at all costs. What I Told My Friends is a dark academia thriller, perfect for fans of When We Were Silent and My Dark Vanessa. Chloe Carter returns to her prestigious boarding school to reveal the truth about the murder of head girl Emily Osborne. But sharing secrets comes at a high price. Her revelations could expose dangerous truths and put her own life at risk.
The Tomorrow Project is an unmissable new speculative novel for fans of Station 11 and The Last of Us. In a virus-ravaged 2050s London, young Maya escapes to an evacuation camp, but realizes she must leave to find what remains of the outside world. Her journey is fraught with danger as she seeks hope and survival beyond the camp's confines. And last but certainly not least, a killer of influence. 8 social media influencers are kidnapped and forced into a deadly competition for likes, while DCI Jack Logan races to save them from a sadistic captor. The influencers must survive the twisted game as the police navigate the dark corners of the internet to find them. Now, to end, here's just a quick reminder to follow DK on social media to stay up to date with her latest books, sweepstakes, and offerings. Our DK Books US accounts focus on our children's titles, while our DK Living accounts focus on our adult titles. And if you want to be the first to know about all things Canelo, a new addition to the DK family, be sure to follow the brand on Instagram. For any school librarians or those with a particular interest in decodables, we also have Phonic Books, dedicated social channels, and a website packed with hundreds of free downloadables, blogs, and so much more, so be sure to check it out. Thank you so much for joining us today and for all that you do for your patrons and communities. We hope you enjoyed hearing from Amy De La Force. Huge thanks again to her and Susan for such a wonderful and engaging conversation. And we hope you found at least a few new gems to add to your collection this spring. Thank you for always being great champions of DK Books.
Thank you so much, Ellie and company. What a wonderful list. And another thank you to our special guest, Amy De La Force. Tomorrow, attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, slide presentation, title list, and certificate of completion. For more information about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. A huge thank you to our special guest, Amy De La Force, and to our sponsor, DK. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.